Good afternoon. It is an honor to be here today, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to return to Yale with my incredible former students, Rajahne and Amazin. As an English teacher, I was accustomed to analyzing texts, but Mary Lou's seminar, History in Our Everyday Lives, Collective Memory, Historical Writing, and Public History, challenged me to analyze and unpack the stories embedded in our built environment, something that, before this experience, I'd given little consideration. This seminar encouraged fellows to question whose stories are remembered and why, and it came at a time where our city, and much of the South, started to ask the same question. That same summer in 2015, the tragic event of the massacre that unfolded at the historical Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, became a catalyst for a nationwide debate over the Confederate iconography of the South. For this reason, when Mary Lou asked us to uncover the stories in our built environment, I knew I had to explore the story embedded in Monument Avenue, our city's national historic landmark, located just a block away from our school. While the nation erupted in debates over the meaning of historic symbols, I wondered how my students, many of whom ride the bus past these 5 Confederate monuments every day, made sense of this conversation. Through countless hours researching both here at Yale and in Richmond, and I have the footnotes to prove it, I learned the origin story of Monument Avenue, and I discovered that the divisive debate surrounding these monuments in our city is a perpetual one. This especially became evident as I researched the debate surrounding the most recent monument added to our avenue, that also happened to be the monument closest to our school. Our city's current debate over Monument Avenue echoes a similar debate from 2 decades before, when in 1996, Douglas Wilder, America's first Black governor, was determined to place Richmond native Arthur Ashe, a world-renowned tennis player and philanthropist, on the historic avenue. The addition of Arthur Ashe Monument spurred dialogue about Richmond's cultural memory. Questions arose surrounding what story the city's public art shares with the world, and the world was now watching. Publications like the Washington Post, the New York Times, USA Today, and the Baltimore Sun covered this dispute that divided our city. After a 7-hour city council meeting where hundreds of Richmond residents spoke out on the issue, the 7 council members overwhelmingly voted in favor of the placement of Ashe on Monument Avenue. At the meeting where Leonidas Young reportedly said, "I think this is our finest hour, because it shows that we have grown. It is painful to grow, but if you do not grow, if you do not experience the pain, you will not become everything you can become." And here's a clip after the results from the 1997 debate to provide some context.
Mr. Mayor.
Aye.
Ayes 7, noes none, abstain 1. The paper is adopted.
The healing of a city. That's how Richmond Mayor Leonidas Young is describing City Council's decision to locate the Arthur Ashe statue on Monument Avenue and Roseneath Road.
We hear and feel what you are saying in regards to a definite need for symbolism that finally ends the feud and reconciles Monument Avenue.
A majority of council members appeared set on putting the monument in Byrd Park. That was before the 7-hour public hearing. Council members were swayed by the speakers. Many included the late Arthur Ashe's family members who pushed for the Monument Avenue site.
We need to have an avenue of this type that will express our full history and will express our full accomplishments of all people in the city.
City Councilwoman Viola Baskerville told council not to preserve the status quo by keeping Monument Avenue a street dedicated to Civil War heroes. And tradition was broken around 1:15 Tuesday morning when Richmond leaders decided to honor this native son on the city's most famous avenue.
The citizens of my hometown would not let me down, meaning that they would ensure that it went somewhere that would befit the man.
Richmond's mayor is calling this the city's finest hour. Placing the Ashe statue on Monument Avenue is a step towards healing old wounds. But at least one council member says this former capital of the Confederacy still has a hell of a long way to go. In Richmond, I'm Michelle Mowry, News Channel 6.
In this unit, students explored if Richmond still indeed has a long way to go. And after walking to the Ashe Monument, as a class, students studied the debate through various letters to the editor and analyzed these letters for rhetorical appeals and applied their understanding through then composing a letter of their own. In closing, I'd like to share that this unit is a living one. This unit changes each time I teach it. Student feedback, collaboration with the art teacher, and current events like the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville have deeply influenced the way I approach this unit. This year, when I teach this unit, we won't spend as much time focusing on the debate surrounding the monuments, because I've learned from my students that while they find this unit interesting, there are more pressing issues that they'd like to address: underfunded, crumbling school facilities, and a lack of affordable housing, for example. And these issues are a part of their built environment that so many of them do not have the opportunity to ignore. Even still, this learning experience through Y&I has been hands down the most worthwhile professional development of my teaching career. And I'm honored to have Rajahne and Amazin here with me today to share their experience with you. I invite Rajahne to make.
Hi, I'm Rajahne Harris, and I'm so excited to be here with all you educators because I would love to go to college for education. I am a very art-oriented student, so to me class feels better when there's something art-related or artsy to help me look back and remember. At the time of this project, I was creating a mural at a local coffee shop with my teen leadership group. So when I went to school and was hit with the question, what does public art say about our city? I was moved. What does this artwork that I'm creating say about my hometown and the city that I have spent all my years in? I think we did a pretty great job capturing the essence of Richmond through the bike, the dogs, the housing, and the street signs. I spent a lot of time reflecting on art that had been created in Richmond, and all of the work to me shows that Richmond is diverse. Richmond is art, except Monument Avenue. During this unit, Ms. Callahan collaborated with my art teacher, Mr. Harnsberger, and he asked the same question. Then he showed what was going on in my hometown at the time that I had been so stuck in my own little bubble I didn't realize. People were vandalizing monuments and sitting on them, chanting about why they should be taken down. Me personally, I never paid much attention to them. I don't know if it was because I didn't care about them or if I had been taught not to pay attention. And just saying that in itself is very disappointing to me, that I had been trained to look past these monuments because they were not reflective of people like me. In both classes, we spent much more time talking about Arthur Ashe's monument specifically, but we also made sure that we understood the origin of Monument Avenue. My art teacher made me think about monuments and their creation by asking me to create a monument of a hero of mine. This really made me think about how I felt about these monuments being the forefront of Richmond and how I felt about Arthur Ashe being there sticking out like a sore thumb. I'd like to take a second to point out that his monument is facing a different direction than all the other monuments, and the meaning education over sports is lost because it looks like he's reprimanding the students with the books. As I said earlier, Monument Avenue to me is not art. It's something that's really controversial and something that I was ashamed of having in my city. And of course, whoever created those monuments, they spent a lot of time and care on those, but I do not think that they capture what Richmond is to me. I think Richmond's history is important, but I feel like we are stuck in the past on that road instead of showing our history. Ms. Callahan showed us articles from Arthur's wife, Governor Douglas Wilder, Mayor Leonidas Young, and the Richmond Times-Dispatch. After studying these perspectives and opinions, when it came time to write my letter to the Public Art Commissioner, I wanted them to see that Arthur himself did not want to be on Monument Avenue. And to me, that's the most important factor of his placement. I had to take into account other people's points of views and provide proof that my point of view was also valid. So my conclusion after looking at all the points was if they weren't going to move Ashe, then they needed to put more people like me on Monument Avenue. What I learned from this is that my voice is powerful, it should be heard, and I learned that art indeed can be political and that it affects how people see my home. I don't want people coming to Richmond thinking that we're a bunch of Confederates because that is far from true. Art is impactful, art is powerful, and art is a part of me that can lead to my voice being heard. This unit will forever be an important unit because it shapes students' opinions and thoughts simply by giving them the idea or chance to open their eyes to what's right in front of them. I was also taught that although everyone can have a different opinion, they can all be right with no one's opinion being more superior. One of my favorite things about this unit was the time we got to spend sharing our opinions and listening to others. It really helped me gain a stronger, more well-rounded point of view. This is why I want to be a teacher, to make impacts on students' lives, just like Ms. Callahan did for me. Thank you for letting me have a bit of your time.
Hi, my name is Amazin Bullock, and prior to this unit, I knew little of the men that had occupied Monument Avenue, all except for Arthur Ashe. I had driven past these men every day before going to school and never thought twice about these men. These same men that had been on the wrong side of the Civil War. Having their statues up on Monument Avenue reflected our city, and our city is no longer the capital of the South. As an African American, Arthur Ashe was a very interesting man to learn about, not only because he was a Richmond native that I already knew so much about, but because he was a man of great talent and initiative. In this unit, we wrote letters to our mayor where we took sides on different viewpoints. Before writing the letters, we got a chance to talk about our various perspectives with each other and a chance to see that this issue was not a very black and white one. My classmates have strong opinions, and to see them go back and forth showed me that there are going to be people that have different opinions on issues and different stances, and even though I don't agree with them, it's valuable to understand their points. When writing my letter, I addressed that there should be more statues on Monument Avenue that show people who did great things, and one of the people that came to mind was Maggie Walker, the first female bank president to charter a bank in the U.S. She was another important person to Richmond. She even had a school named after her. In my letter, I explained how it would be amazing to have a statue of her about a year later, and there was a statue put up on Broad Street, the heart of our city, for everyone to see. The addition of this monument just shows how our city can change, like my own views on how these monuments reflect our city also has changed. I would definitely say that this unit has helped me to understand that these issues may not be the same or as they appear to be. To close, here are two other voices of my peers, Justin Daniels and Kamari Branch, who also experienced Ms. Callahan's unit and considered their voice in the role of public art in a new way.
How did you feel about the Arthur Ashe Monument Unit?
Well, I think it was a very important unit for us to have because it really just saddened and angered me that we could have monuments to people who stood for the enslavement of Black people.
What impact did it have on you as a student?
Well, really, it just opened my eyes and it awakened me to the subtle notes of racism that go on in our society.
Did this unit change your opinion on public art?
Well, originally I didn't even really see the monuments as art. I didn't really see them at all, to be honest, because they were just there. But now I can only think about them and only see them as things that glorify people who stood for the oppression and enslavement and general torture of my people.
I really enjoyed writing the letter to the mayor. I enjoyed writing the letter to Mayor Stoney because it reminded me that I could impact public art with writing a letter. Like what I say can be significant to other people, like the government and the administration. Maybe it won't cause a direct change, but with all of us, if we all have something to say about it, then maybe they will listen a little bit more. They realize we have important thoughts and what we have to say. We do care. It's not, we don't care. And I feel like public art should reflect the public. It should reflect the people who live in Richmond. There's not only old white retirees that live here. There's a lot of different kinds of people. There's a lot of diverse population here, and we need public art that reflects that.
I would like to thank all of you for inviting us here to share this with you today.